everybody, it's Andy Stoyer here at Helpware, and we're here with Eric Olson from Upshow, and we're going to talk a little bit about the customer experience, the customer journey, and how Upshow is growing your business. Thanks for making time, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. So I'm a guy who spent the bulk of my career back and forth between venture capital and building companies. Some have worked, some have scaled a lot, some haven't. So a pretty typical story, similar of any portfolio I've been investing out of. But the thing for me professionally is just I really enjoy the creation aspect of it, and that paired with building a team and seeing people succeed not only in our company but externally in the rest of their careers is a pretty rewarding thing. And I think for me, you get the most of that in these kind of earlier stage growth situations. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit about me. And I live in Oak Park, Illinois. It's a great town. I have a wife. I have a 5-year-old son named Jack. So they're a lot of fun, and I ride my bike a lot, and big baseball fan from Massachusetts. So
great.
Red Sox, big Red Sox fan.
So hopefully, the Cubs game the other night.
Hopefully you don't have a lot of New York Yankee fan viewers, but they can boo me. That's fine.
So tell me about Upshow. You guys are doing some really cool stuff, and I want to talk a little bit about it, get to know the company, and you guys are innovating a lot. So tell me a little bit about the company.
Yeah, we're trying. So the initial idea for Upshow, our founders, Adam and Matt, had it when they were a prior company called SparkReel, more like a marketing agency, and they came up with this idea for a client and said, "Hey, you've got all these TVs in your venue. We should do something more with those, right? Like we could probably create a marketing platform that just leverages this asset that you already invested in. Mm-hmm. That right now you've got maybe ESPN or CNN on mute,
right? Like happens all the time.
Yeah, and this day and age, no one's interacting with that anymore. Like, let's think if we can create an interactive experience. And so they did, and it went so well that they said, we just got to forget about the SparkReel thing we were doing, and we got to create a company, and that is Upshow. That was 3 years ago.
And what is Upshow? Like, what's the experience for the consumer and while you're in the location where the screen is?
It's a great question. So what Upshow really is today, now about 3,000 locations later that we're in, is really a true sort of marketing platform that leverages the power of these TVs. And so what that means is in the core product right now, there's 3 key areas of the product. The first area, which was from the beginning, which we call social, right? Mm-hmm. And it's basically if you or I are in a bar or restaurant, wherever we might be, we can take a picture of ourselves, we can hashtag it, comes up on the screen. It's a really interesting moment for your clients. On the back end, though, for any of our customers, they have a CRM now that's built out based on people posting. So now they can interact with their customers who are obviously big fans of theirs, taking pictures and doing things. And so that was the first key piece of it. And then what we heard from customers that led to the next 2 pieces, one was, what other way can we entertain this is great, but what's the sustaining entertainment piece? So that was really now what we call Upshow Now. And what that was our attempt to say, how do we take all these social experiences that you have on Instagram and YouTube and wherever and create a TV-like experience in an automated way? Mm-hmm. What was really interesting about that is if you're a bar in the middle of Ohio, you can really just decide I want Ohio State or whatever you might want, but I even want the high school sports scores to be on there. We can do that really quickly for you in an automated way so you can have a personalized TV experience for your client base. And then lastly, we have a piece of the product called Spotlights, which is where our clients can literally spotlight anything they think are interesting. So for our hospitality clients, maybe it's a beer special. Mm-hmm. For our physical therapy clients, maybe something about a workout regimen that they want their clients to understand better.
Great. So it's very personalized content in each location that gives that kind of presence. So tell me a little bit about loyalty. We were talking about loyalty and how this drives loyalty in that customer experience.
Yeah, a few different ways. Because one of the ways is now you've got this populated CRM based on people who are excited enough about what they're doing at your venue to post about it, and you can now communicate with them. And so marketing managers love to be able to do that, or even just our single location folks, the business owners themselves love that ability. Mm-hmm. And now we're starting to think more with particularly our hospitality clients, which is the kind of base of Upshow for the last 3 years, how we really start tying into the data sets that they do have around their point of sale data and other things to really sort of automate in an automated way, show what lift we can create. Mm-hmm. Another way we did it with a large restaurant client that we have, nationwide restaurant client, is they came to us and said, we have this loyalty program. It's a card. We really want people to sign up. We're just not having a lot of luck with it. We said, well, great. Look, we've got this really nice curated experience now at all of your venues. Let's take a sample set of those. Let's put a spotlight up that says, hey, we have this loyalty program. We'll work with your marketing creative people to design that.
Yep.
Let's run it, and let's see where we come out in the experiment. And it was really interesting. We saw about a 24% lift in loyalty signups over the experiment run, while the same stores actually had a 19% decrease in traffic. So they were really excited. Needless to say, we're really excited about that. High engagement. And for us, we kind of felt like, we were really excited about it too, but we kind of felt like, well, this just makes sense because you have people engaged with the screen, posting things to it, looking at very specific content they care about, not just like the nationwide ESPN feed on mute, which doesn't show enough Red Sox stuff in my opinion, right? Like I want more. And then they're engaged, and then they see like, oh, there's a loyalty program. Oh, it's so easy to sign up. Oh, I can go to this web URL. I already have my phone. Boom, done.
That's great. That's great. And so it's software and hardware. Do you distribute hardware to the location?
Yes, we do. Yep. Our hardware solution is based on really this candy bar-sized computer device built on the Chrome OS platform. So we partner with Google on that, and it's a really nice little lightweight thing. And all our clients have to do is we prep those things, and they literally plug it into their HDMI port on their TV, and they're Upshow.
That's great.
Simple as that. So our hardware, software solutions just combined in that one device.
So there's very little spoken about operational organization and how companies align around delivering a great customer experience. Tell me a little bit about how your company is structured and how Upshow helps align around what your end customers' interests are.
It's a great question, and you're asking at a really interesting time. So, I'm relatively new to the business, been here about 90 days, and part of what I was brought in to do is answer some of these questions. So say like, having been through a scaling opportunity a couple of times prior, what does this need to look like to scale? So for a lot of the last 90 days, it was really getting to know our customers and really just trying to put myself in their shoes and really encouraging the team to do it too. So I think the last few years has been more about survival and like we just got to get money in and on the books. And now we've got this opportunity to start digging in a little deeper. And so where that starts for us is, it starts as just saying, hey, just forget about any sort of departments or operations or job titles we currently have or will have, or it doesn't matter. Let's just really start understanding what the client experience needs to be. And then we'll figure out how we deliver that. But to our customers, that could just be magic. It's fine. They don't really care or have to know.
Right.
They just want to know that their needs are met. And so one of the key things we've been working on over the past month or so is this notion of, getting a customer to the magic moment as soon as possible. Because our platform has 3 different areas, and we also operate in industries as varied as hospitality, fitness, physical therapy, dentistry. I mean, product can do a lot in a lot of different industries. That's great for a lot of reasons, but what it can be problematic with is how do you get that customer to get to their first objective fast?
Right.
And so what we've done is...
And what is that first objective? Like, what is that magic moment that you're striving for?
It's a good question. So what we've built out now is the ability to find that out, not only from the sales process, if we can, ideally, and then transfer that into the implementation team process. They're the people that literally say, what do the next 30 days look like for you? How do you get your stuff installed? Do you understand how to use the software? And are you ready for an account executive? So we really silo that role up to say that's really important. And if you have
and is that where the handoff is made between sales and operations?
Correct. That's exactly right. That's
so let's talk about that, because that's also one of these things that there's not a lot of light shine on that particular topic. So how do you work that out? When does the sale get completed? When does it hand off to operations? Is sales involved in post-sale or once the client is onboarded?
It's a good question. So historically at Upshow, like most early stage companies, sales really sort of is involved across the board in a lot of ways because everybody's doing 10 jobs. Where we're at now, though, is we're thinking about like when you think about scale, where do we need to be and where do we want people focused, right? So for sales, like it's going to seem kind of obvious, but we really want them focused on sales.
Right.
And so what we've done is, when they hand off a sale, they say, okay, we've got the sign up form, we've got the billing information, they've agreed to this, here's the contract, right? The handoff happens 2 different ways. So if it's a small or like one-off location, that handoff will be very, very clean to our implementation person, Lindsay, who then takes it, says, let me verify all the information, we'll build out the Chrome bit for them, we'll get it to them, we'll we have all these nice emails that go and say, here's your shipping, here's what to expect. She hosts webinars to get, all that stuff.
Great.
If it's enterprise, she will be involved before the sale's closed. Because we want our enterprise clients to know, like, you have a person, they have experience doing this, and they're going to come with a perspective once they get to know your team of how this rollout could go so that it goes well for your company. So we do define or differentiate.
And how do you define enterprise? It's also one of these terms that it's like, it just means bigger clients. But for you, what's that threshold?
No, it's a really great question. I think the relatively rough threshold that we have is there some sort of corporate entity? Right? Or they're not just a bunch of distributed sites.
Single location.
Yeah. So it's like, do they have? Is there a notion of corporate there?
Right.
That we need to work with, and then secondarily, just as a rough cut, it's like, is it over about 10 sites?
Right.
Because and just as my past experience too, just saying, like, generally that's where things get more complex. Generally, you might see some kind of corporate entity at that point, even if it's 2 people.
Right.
So we're just really looking at that, because at that point you need people to be having those corporate level dialogues and project planning. And then the single location deployments, at least in my last role, and I think in this one too, look pretty much the same. So you can actually do that same process. The question is, do you need to add that layer for the enterprise management piece of it for the senior executives?
And so how are you managing your customers and the communication and the customer support? When you have kind of 2 different kinds of customers, the smaller single individual places and then the multi-location places. Do you have different teams servicing those different client profiles?
The answer is yes. So when you think about what we have right now is really more of a account executive type structure. And so as we look at that, we've got, to your point on those different size customers, we have different types of account executives, and we expect different things, right?
Yeah.
So with our biggest enterprise clients, they're going to be setting up quarterly business reviews. They're going to be sharing data monthly at least, right? Like, we have these deeper relationships there where we're proactively trying to come with insights and new things for them. On our one-off locations, we want to do hopefully just as much, but we're trying to think about how we do it in a way where we can send, tailored but kind of more automated communications to them, so to make sure that they get the most out of the platform. And what we're digging into right now, is the opportune time to have this conversation, is what does that support burden look like? In fact, the meeting I literally just left was our first look at pulling all the data manually for every single support call, because we have a relatively low volume now. We might peak at like 10 or 15 calls in a day. It's been good.
Great.
But we want to understand who those are coming from. Are those coming from enterprise clients? Are they coming from our single location clients? Where? What time of day?
Yep.
What day of week? And so we're just starting to get into that. And one thing that came out of even just this meeting right now is we found that about 70% of these support calls were coming in from a large enterprise deployment that we're probably about 80% done with. And it was great because it set us off on this course of like, why are we getting all these questions, first of all?
Yeah.
And then we started diagnosing it. It was because this particular client wanted to do their onboarding themselves.
I see.
So we're not in the process. So it's kind of interesting. So it's good feedback, not only for them, but for us. So when we go into our next big client deployment, we're going to say, hey, typically, like, if we do our standard onboarding and implementation process, we feel like it'll be more successful for your general managers at your locations.
Right.
So we're starting to better understand that. And I think ideally what we'd like for these support calls and that immediate support is we do need a team probably to handle that. We have one person who does it half time right now. Right. And she's the one pulling all this data and doing everything. But we know as we scale, we're going to get it. We also know we're in such a varied set of industries that we really need almost 24/7 or pretty close to it, and weekends for the hospitality guys.
Right.
And how do we both staff for that, but then understand the nature of those calls such that we can build our help centers, we can build the self-serve solutions for the clients that want it, because ultimately different clients want different things.
Right. And are these phone calls, emails, live chat? How do you support your customers? All of that?
Yeah, and so and we have a low volume now, so it works.
Sure.
We want to be able to do that as we scale. And I'll tell you, in my last role, we had this sort of general strategy that we were going to have account executives kind of handle everything. And there was a reason for that. But I think the downsides were that then it had to be email or phone calls. It's kind of what we did. And we had a notion that we wanted to say white glove service. And I think one of my constant sort of refrains was, But white glove service, I think, should mean meeting the customer where they want to be met.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're really going to strive for this, we need, and that's why we're doing it already, even at an early stage. Look, if they want to send us like a text message, we should be able to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it should be magic to them. How we do doesn't matter.
Right.
We should be able to do it. If they like email, we should be able to do it. If they like phone calls, we should be able to do it.
Yeah, there's a whole push around omni-channel and being able to service the customer where they are.
Right, because you and I may have different preferences on it. Like I tend to like to just solve a problem myself in a knowledge base and not have to call somebody. But other people feel real comfortable when they can talk to somebody and solve it. Mm-hmm. That's fine. We should, we have to cater to all our customers and do it in a way that's seamless.
And what kind of customer support tools do you use?
It's one of our favorite ones right now. We're really deep on the implementation. It's a really rich implementation. Is Intercom.
Great.
So I know, like, it's funny now because now that we're using it so deeply, I just like see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Because once you start using it, like, oh, that's the Intercom thing, But it's great because it does a lot of things for us. One is it allows us to see how our customers are using our application. Mm-hmm. So, for example, like we generally know, I say no, we haven't really gone deep in the data analysis, but we generally have an idea that if a client hasn't set up a spotlight to promote something, that's not a good thing. Like they haven't done that in 30 days. That's another one of those magic moments.
Yep.
So if they have it and they're a single location client, we have a set of communications that starts going out saying like, hey, look, this is what you can do. Here's some examples. Here's a case study. Mm-hmm. To start engaging on that point in an automated way. And Intercom allows us to do that, everything all the way to the latest thing we've done, which is build out our knowledge base.
Mm-hmm. And so is that an account rep, like an account executive that reaches out a salesperson, or is that an account manager, somebody who's post-sale who reaches out in that instance?
So it's a great question. So for us right now, it is Angie. Angie's been with the company since literally day one. Has been on the account side the whole time, and so because of that, we really said, hey, look, why don't you strategically take this idea of our single location support, service, and account management offering and figure out what we need to do there. You lead that. Yeah. That led to this idea of like we should use Intercom. Mm-hmm. And Angie today is still answering all those queries. But at the same time, on our front end of our website, Intercom allows you to interact with people who are just browsing your site for the first time. And we have one of our sales guys, Tom, who is the person that's in charge of that piece of Intercom. And so if he's alerted if somebody's browsing site to the point where he thinks there's buying intent. Yeah. And then he can literally talk to that person right there live.
Yeah, that's great.
So we kind of use it for both things, but any post-sale stuff, right now it's Angie, but there will be a team.
Right. That's really great. And as you're looking at the next 6 months, what are some of the top 3 initiatives, for example? Or what's your focus around extending customer experience and delivering on that brand promise of being the best in market?
I'm tempted to give all the 3 the same answer, but one of the biggest pieces of work we're doing is on that first touch implementation process. Like they're the first, like after you've dealt with your awesome sales, you get a great sales team, right? Like inevitably people are like, I really love Tony or Matt or what, all the sales folks, they love them, right? Obviously they do a good job. Great. And so then the question is, how do we carry that on when now we're getting down to like, we got to have you install this Chrome bit and all this technical stuff, and like, how do we distill that into a really exciting experience where the net result of it is, if you wanted to promote something, we got you to that spotlight feature as fast as possible. Yeah. If you wanted the social component, we showed you how to use that as fast, but like whatever that case might be. Okay. And how do you do that for enterprise, and how do you do that for our single locations, which will look a little different? And so the last few weeks, and this will continue over the next few months, is on the single location side, we've got a huge piece of work about how we're leveraging not only Intercom, but some other pieces of software and so forth to just make that a much more exciting experience. Like even down to like, we talked a lot about one element of it being, the Domino's pizza tracker. Like, well, we should just have something like, where is your Chrome bit in shipment? Because we talked to the sales team, they're like, man, we just get a lot of calls. People are wondering about their shipment, and we're like, well, we send them an email where it's got a tracking link, and they're like, yeah, I know. And we're like, pizza tracker. Gotcha. Right. So we're thinking about that, but it's all starting from like, if you're a customer, what are you thinking right now? Yes. And literally, we've got a whiteboard in the room, and that's what it has on there. Okay, at this stage, if you're a customer, like let's think hard about what you're thinking, because you don't know anything. Mapping the customer journey and 100%. Every touch point within. It starts there, right? Yeah. It starts with like the customer objective at that point. Yeah. They just want to know where their shipment is. Right. How do we solve for that? Yeah. Like they want to feel comfortable that things are happening, right? And predictively delivering that message to them so that they're not wondering and
being in this kind of reactive position.
Absolutely. So that matters just as much for any single location that we have, all the way to the enterprise side, where you're going to have a lot more involvement from your account executive, about where everything is in shipment, how the rollout's going, and having even that deployment period like we do with one of our larger physical therapy clients, where we're just saying, you've got 800 sites or so to roll out. Like we have to. That's where almost the account executive really digs in and starts. Is how does that look? Because that's going to be the basis of that whole relationship going forward.
Right. That's great. And so, tell me a little bit about the business. How do you generate revenue? When was the company started?
Yeah, so started about 3 years ago, and we're a SaaS model, so just pure SaaS business right now, which is really interesting, at least to me, because I think in the hospitality space, as a venture capitalist, I got pitched this idea so many times, like, hey, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the TV experience, we're gonna put ads on it. It's going to be great. And they either never got funded or failed, like every one of them.
Right.
So I remember when Adam first talked to me about Upshow, I was like, I don't like it. I don't know. And he's like, oh, did I tell you we're a SaaS business? And did I tell you we've already got 3,000 locations paying us? And I was like, no, and that's interesting.
Right.
And I think it really comes down to one of the core pieces or the core ethos of the business, which is when Adam and Matt started it, they said, we want to force ourselves to make something that's valuable enough where people will pay us for it. We're not going to have the kind of cop out, I'll put ads in it.
And how much do they pay? What's the...
Right now, an average client, today, you're talking about maybe $100 a month price point, plus or minus, because we have some add-on features that some people use. A good example of that would be a trivia feature. So a lot of our, particularly bars and restaurants that are trying to drive time and seat, basically. They love it because they're like, oh, look, if the trivia feature gets another 20 minutes of stay time, that's like another beer.
Right.
And it's fun because you can like you or I, we can play it. It's on the mobile web, so you don't have to download an app, and you just leaderboard with your friends, and it's all over the venue.
Very cool.
So that's what we do is we say, if that's important to you for a specific objective, that's a separate charge for that.
And how do they measure? How do your clients measure ROI, or what are their KPIs that they look at with you?
It varies.
Sure.
Right. So I think when we look at our even within, let's take hospitality, for example. Even within hospitality, it varies because you have some clients that really care about the social reach. And so on the back end, what they can see is we quantify this for them is we say, hey, at a market rate, CPM, cost per 1,000 views, people trying to get on your TV have used this hashtag and generated, 8 million views for you. That would have cost X dollars.
Like earned media.
Yeah. Exactly. So they want to quantify the earned media. It's a great way to put it. So that could be their primary, but we have other people whose primary is to sort of promote, whatever it is that they're promoting. So we've had restaurant chains say, hey, we got this new rib dish. This is a real example. We have these new ribs. We want to promote those across the board.
Yeah.
We had a client yesterday at large yoga group, and their biggest objective is they want to unify their studios and make it feel like one big place.
Right.
And so for them, it was, well, how do you take that social experience and have pictures from one location go all over the network, and so you can really start building the sense of community around their yoga center. So I think for us, the bottom line of all that is to say that whether you're a single location all the way up to multi-hundred location, we really care about figuring out what that is for you right now, knowing that it'll change in the future, and helping you get there, because it's going to be different even for the same people in the same industry.
It sounds like at the end of the day, it's all about engagement and being able to track that engagement and quantify it.
Exactly right, because especially if we've defined an objective, like Intercom and these other pieces of software help us understand, if they're trying to promote things and they haven't created the spotlight to promote something in 2 weeks, we should probably reach out and what's happening.
Right, yeah.
Because if that's their whole reason for being and for buying Upshow, we want to make sure that they're equipped to do what they need to do. So it helps us understand when to reach out or what those sort of high leverage reach out points can be for us.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. It's upshow.tv. Check it out, and we'll see you next time.